Hey guys, I'm Naya and welcome back to the channel. For today's video, I decided to do 10 tips for a new or returning player. And what I had in mind was just a couple things that I wish somebody had told me when I first started. So I came up with a lot of things. Let's go ahead and get started. Before we begin though, I would like to encourage you to subscribe because a lot of you are still not subscribed yet and I would love for you to be a part of this community. So also make sure to ring the notification bell so you don't miss any of my future content. And also make sure to let me know down in the comments what you think of this video, if I missed any tips and if there's anything else that you might want to add. So with that being said, now let's go ahead and get started. The first one would be study everything. Study the meta, study the decks in the meta, study the techs and the hand traps because it's going to help you, first of all, craft your deck and also understand what's actually going on in the meta, the things you might be facing, how these decks work, how these different techs and things that you see recurring in different types of builds sort of have an effect on the meta and what that actually means. Why are they recurring? What are these combos and things people do with these techs, for example? What do they achieve? How do some hand traps combat that? What's actually going on, basically? The second tip would be to familiarize yourself with as many decks as possible. Either you play them, which would be really good. You can net deck the build if you're just trying to learn it. There's no issue with that. You can play it to know what the deck does, what the combos are, what the end boards are, and what the choke points are. These are probably the most important things because then when you're facing a deck, you know exactly what's going to happen. And that's actually tying in with the third tip, and it would be to choose your deck. And the factors are based on if you want the deck to be just rogue or you actually want it to be a meta deck, how it can actually compete with the meta. So are you actually going to be able to hang with the best decks or play the best deck? And it's also going to be dependent on your playstyle and your budget. So whether or not you're a control player, a combo player, whether or not you just want to go second in OTK, if you want to play a slow game of just grinding and keeping your resources and winning over an extended period of time, or you want to build and play a combo deck. And in my opinion, I would avoid any kind of really, basic decks or helmet decks, as people like to call them. Just stay away from that because it's not going to teach you anything. If that's something you want to do, if that's how you want to play, then cool, good for you. But if you want to evolve, I would heavily consider picking up either a combo deck or a kind of hard control deck so you learn as much as possible. The fourth one would be to actually build your deck. And what you want to do is, first of all, I would advise you to look at builds. Now, net decking is not something I support when it comes to taking a deck to an event, but anything besides that I think is okay. You want to look at builds that are doing well, and you want to figure out why certain ratios are doing well. You want to calculate your own ratios to see how often you can open your combo starters, your extenders, your hand traps, and that's pretty much it. That's what the deck consists of most of the time. And then you also want to test it online. Now, there are a lot of cool simulators. More than likely, I would use DB, so Dueling Book. You can also use Master Duel, but it's not the same as the meta, so there's a difference there. But if you're just trying to learn, it's also okay. And then at one point, you're gonna want to tailor your build to your own preference. So like I said, calculate your ratios, also decide what kind of hand traps you want to run depending on your own personal meta. And the last thing would be to map out siding patterns. So when you're building your side deck together with your main deck, you want to do it in tandem so you know which cards you want to take out and put in against different strategies. The fifth tip would be to learn rules. You want to learn how the cards are actually worded, what the cost is, what you need to expect from your opponent to do, either target or, things like that, or discard for cost because they need to. And then you also need to know sort of like the basics of when a certain card can be activated, maybe a bit about the damage step, and also you want to know a couple things about priority and a couple things about resolutions, chains, just the basics of how the game is actually being played out. And then if you really want, of course, you can learn a lot more. But to begin with, I think I would really want to learn how to sort of interact with your opponent. And keeping that in mind, also, you want to always maintain a proper game state and communication when you're playing. So both you and your opponent are on the same page as to what's going on. And then the last, extra bonus tip would be to read cards. Read your own cards, even though you might think you know what they do. Just read them one more time and read your opponent's cards so you know that everything is perfectly legal. illegal. The sixth tip would be to study old formats. Now, either really old formats that can teach you a lot about different kind of play styles and how to manage your resources, different types of rules, anything like that. But also I would advise to learn a couple old formats and older decks that just might be really good if something comes off the ban list or gets new support, because it's a new deck you're gonna want to know about if it actually comes back in the meta. The seventh tip would be time. Learn how to play with a good pace, not think a lot, because if you test your deck out, you're gonna know what you need to do when your opponent, does this thing, does the other thing. It's like you want to keep a good pace and you're not gonna go into time, and you also want to keep time in your mind, because if you're getting close to time, you might want to speed things up, make sure your opponent is not playing slowly. You're gonna maybe want to go second if you're a couple minutes away from time so you can deal damage, but these are just nuances. What I really want to say is keep time in your mind at all times, because you don't want to go into time and lose because of that, because it's just really lame. The eighth tip would be to actually watch other people play and watch just other content when it comes to playing. So either you can go on DB Rated, you can look for a certain type of card or a deck or a player that's really good and just watch them play, because people play in certain types of ways. They make different choices and you can learn a lot by just watching people. Also, live streams with commentary are a really good source of just info. The ninth one would be to stay up to date. Just know everything when it comes to where your locals are, where your regionals are, different Facebook groups that you can become a part of. Discord servers are a huge thing and a huge help. Connect with people, and also I would advise you to test with people that are better than you, because you will learn more. And also keep up to date as to what's actually going on in the Yu-Gi-Oh world. Any product releases that just might reprint the card you want to pick up, or any new strategy that's dropping. Read articles, watch YouTube content, and just stay up to date. And the last one, the 10th one, would be to test. Just play a lot. Not just do test hands, although test hands are nice, and you can also sort of imagine scenarios in which if you get disrupted, what to do, or in different sort of choke points of your deck. But mostly, I want to emphasize test. Just maybe IRL is a bit slower. If you just enjoy it, it's all good. But if you really just want to grind it out and test your deck, I would advise go on DB Rated, because you can get a lot of matches in a short period of time, and you really know either maybe your ratios are wrong, either you're making certain mistakes at different points in the combo, or how you can interact with your opponent. Because when you actually sit down at an event, then you know exactly what to expect, because you have found yourself in these situations before. And this is probably the advice I would want to, like I said, emphasize the most. And that's pretty much it. Hopefully this video wasn't too long, and hopefully it was helpful. Like I said, that's something I would want to know when I first started playing. So I would like to encourage you once more to let me know down in the comments what you thought, if I missed anything, if you would like to add anything. And yeah, like the video, give me a sub, check out all of the social media, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace!